Hello and welcome to this video where we're going to show that the Blood Mage is the witch class you should go based on 2 builds. Now, I don't really think this minion class, it's more of a sorceress class where you burn everything. I think in the future it'll probably get massively changed because it's just an elementalist class, not a witch class in my opinion. Which obviously in POE 1 is a witch class, but now they have sorceress. They really should have added something like this to the witch, the sorc. Now, the 2 classes that are, I believe, legitimate witch classes are a chaos based and a skeletal base. And not sure if this would be as possible in POE 2, but trying to stack power charges, because power charges obviously give you more damage, and certain abilities work off power charges, increasing the damage. Just as a quick reference, frenzy charges, which we're not going to use, just frenzy charges are something that everyone likes getting for different builds. Sniper's Mark will give frenzy charges, and Combat Frenzy will give charges every 6.2 seconds by base, I believe, by freezing, electrocute, and pinning. Pinning you can do with Bone Cage. Bone Cage pins every single enemy that hits the cage. So you will gain frenzy charges with Bone Cage every 6 seconds. Obviously, if you can bring that down, then the Bone Cage duration, you'll end up with a bunch of frenzy charges, then you use them. Now, Power Offering Spikes. You fire a spike and it impales a minion, or we're going to have to see it in working to actually know how it manufactures itself, but at the end of its thing, you get a power charge. Same as a Profane Ritual, after 2 seconds, you get a power charge. There will be other ways to get power charges, I assume. Easier ways than waiting 2 seconds. If we can get this down a lot quicker, or you pick up double power charges or something, then this would be better. But if we can pick our minimum up, so we're constantly running 2-3 power charges, that'll be awesome. Now, the working theory for a spirit. This is based off some things, plus also the monk converts the spirit into darkness. Darkness then is extrapolated into 100 base plus 5 per level. So working off this, in theory it would make sense that you would end up with 100 base as you start the game, and then 5 per level as you go. That would mean darkness and spirit are equal, and one wouldn't be more powerful than the other. So you'd end up with 600 at level 100 after the campaign, which you should be around 65 based on their calculations. More than likely the first map tier will probably be 66 to 69, is 425, 180 if 30 per act. They said in the reveal 1 per act. There's obviously 6 acts. So if that is true, then be able to pick up 30 spirit per act, which gives us 780 spirit, 505 spirit at the end of campaign. Now, there are scepters which give you a spirit base based on the actual scepter. You can end up with, based on the numbers of POE versus what was seen, at least 200, potentially 200 to 400, depending on what that multiplier percentage goes up to. At least 100%, because there's a 98% scepter. I assume it will go at least 2 more points. I'm thinking 120 or 150 is reasonable. A whole 200% is unreasonable unless you double wield. If you dual wield, you end up with 400 more on top of this at a good level scepter, which means you won't probably be getting an extra 200 on top of this. It'll be endgame stuff. So we're working with 780 to 1,000 at max. Just projecting base levels. There's probably other ways, other uniques, other things that we can slightly adjust it. So that's what we're working with towards endgame. Now, chaos based. This obviously means chaos based. There are nodes on the tree which increase the skill gem level of chaos gems, which obviously would help potentially. POE 1 and POE 2, the power application of everything, like getting damage numbers, they've tried to bring it down and just see where people go with it so they can then introduce things. So they can add stuff that gives power for reward, sort of that risk reward stuff. So don't expect the skill gem level to do much, except for in combination with the right things. Is the way I'm getting what they're saying, what the examples are and everything. The power comes with a combination of everything, not just a single thing. So we're probably not doing Essence Drain straight up. We're probably doing Unearth, which is a AoE. You can raise minions from this if it kills them, which then gives you a little more attack. Essence Drain is a projectile that curses the enemy with a Chaos degen. And then I believe if they die with Essence Drain, if your minion, they have a chance to spread it. Minion then has Essence Drain, and if you have I think it's Despair with it, it has Despair and Essence Drain on it, based on a previous Witch playthrough. They could have changed that, but they did keep the curse them, they die, they then get the curse and they can spread it to the ones they attack. So cursing things with chaos degens should, and by the sound of it, will allow the minions you spawn to then attack things. But in this case, it'll be we're using mainly attack skills. This can be used with some minions. I'll show a minion side, but this is like the chaos side of it. Withering Presence and all that used with Blasphemy. The Spirit will be actually used to use these because Spirit is obviously auras, power charges to get through Propane Ritual. Defense wise or offense wise, we have Grim Feast, which builds Energy Shield over time, which by the sound of it, Energy Shield is going to be pretty important like last Epoch. If you don't have ES base, you better have a lot of armor, especially early on last Epoch. You had like 10-20k Energy Shield, you pretty much couldn't die. Barrier Invocation, this chips away your Energy Shield. Each damage then gives you energy. The energy then builds up and it releases a socketed skill. In this case, I pick Firestorm because it's an AoE and it gets an area. So if you're attacking something and you're getting damaged, then obviously in the area it takes out the things that are damaging you. Now, this is the sort of mindset I think will probably be strong. Since they took the life nodes off the tree, there's probably masteries with life in some aspects that you can grab, but there's no take this and get a bunch of life based on previous things. So mana ES base is with Mind Over Matter taking 100% of damage before life. You just get less regen. Having a mana based build might be a very good defense. Now this can be combined bits and pieces depending on the spirit. If we can get the spirit down, we can run both of these together in certain avenues. Now this is more on the minion side. Skeletal warriors and snipers, we obviously can't have too many snipers even at late game unless we can increase that number quite a bit. So we're going to have 1 or 2 max at end game. Skeletal warriors are pretty much our fodder. We're going to spawn them, they're going to go out, they're going to do some damage, but they're going to die. That's going to then be used by our storm mages, which then lightning strike the dead corpses. So we send them out, the snipers are at the back taking shots, they're like skeletal archers and other things. Then the storm mages are causing a lightning storm where they're dying. Now our raised zombies, based on a previous thing, the raised zombies, if you raise them whilst you have power charges, it creates like a power zombie. It adds damage and life to them. So we only raise zombies when we got power charges, so we can give them a good boost, and they're going to be a more of a hitting force. The Bind Spectre will be elite, like magics and all that, based off how much resource we can use. We will drop anything here to get one of these guys. We will probably drop the sniper before we drop anything else, but we will raise anything. Think of a runic warrior from Expedition. Some of those guys, they drop, we pick them up, we now have them. Some of those runic guys would probably be pretty awesome. So we're going to pick up, and they respawn. That's the important thing. Based on previous things, they respawn just like these. So they just keep coming. So it's not a one-time use. I explained the Storm Mage. Now, Soul Offering, there's no info that I could find on it, but I'm pretty sure it's the skill I saw that gives a buff to the minions whilst damaging them at the same time. It's similar to other skills in other games, but the clerics can heal your minions, and we have enough clerics, we can heal them more than they're getting damaged, and so the buff lasts the whole time, they last the whole time, and if they die slightly, then that doesn't matter because Storm Mage. So we get the most out of them, they die, then we get extra damage. All this is happening. We are using, if it works the way I think it works based on reading and hearing, Thonic Fissure, I had to look it up, I'm probably still got it wrong, but apparently Thonic Fissure from Last Epoch Warlock. The Bone Storm is the one in the preview or reveal or whatever you want to do, where they spawn stuff and it's behind and then fires. That's the skill that Bone Storm is, I'm pretty sure, based on reading the skill. Then Firewall with Raging Spirit. If you saw the Raging Spirit on a area attack sends it out from that area attack, and the Bone Storm is a projectile and it will come along with the projectiles. And this is similar to using a Warlock and being a Chaos Bolt wielding Thonic Fissure character. So we're laying down the firewall, the Radiant Spirits are coming out attacking, the Bone Storms, and then we also have the minions around doing damage. And if the Skeletal Brute is like a golem, maybe we try and have 3 of these guys. It'll be tough, but if we can have 3 of these guys doing this and something here, even if it's just these 2. So we run these 2, we run the Bone Storm Firewall, and then possibly get 3 brutes, and then whatever else we can get along with it. I think that will be pretty powerful. because we'll have constant damage, and if we got the Blood Mage, we are leeching damage. This will only work, obviously, depending on passive trees and everything. If we can get, because if I find it for you, this is the occultist skill tree. As you can see, it has virtually nothing to do with a infernal witch. Get my big head out of the way of that one and put it there. Now if I pull up the other thing, it's POE 2 DB. They got all the things revealed lately and in the past. I was going to look up some so firewall. Okay, they don't have firewall. Raging Spirits. As you can see, it takes some spirit and it will constantly on fire area spells. So it on projectile fire spells, it depends on what we can actually do, because as you saw, if I can bring it up again, we're using Bone Storm. If we can bring Bone Storm into a fire, it depends on whether it is tag or whether it's a damage type, because if it counts, because this is obviously projectile but physical, bone skills are physical. We could swap with a fireball or something, which then makes it fire, but hopefully it's what damage it does. But if it's just fire spell, we don't have to worry about this anyway. This isn't the Raging Spirit part. This is the important part for the Raging Spirit. And Firewall, by the very sounds of it, should be a fire skill. So it will spawn on the Firewall. Now we bring it back up. Raging Spirit. Then minions from this skill convert 70% of fizz damage to fire. The fire area summons a spirit in a per 1.5 meter of radius. So the firewall, let's say it goes 2 meters. We'll have at least 2 spirits. Those will go out and do it. And if it's a over time thing, because it's 5 spirits summoned per cast, so we'll have to play with it a bit. But if it's over time, it's the length of the time it's summoning spirits, it'll be pretty much like this. So this is obviously work in theory, but this is how it should play based on reading it. We might have to change it up a bit if it's just super nerfed from last epoch and it's just per skill you've released 1, which would just make it terrible, and the skill will be added as a nice bonus, but it'll be pretty useless. These skeletal snipers cost 90 and they're a level 1 gem, so are they any good, or are they just expensive just for being the sake of expensive? Because if they're not any good, then we'll swap them out and then we shall run something more like a Frost Mage or an Arsonist, or there's a couple of others that like a Reaver. So if these guys aren't very good, we'll just swap them out with something else. Probably not a Mage. They seem like they stick back and do nothing. So probably a Reaver, because we're going to have that to summon the lightning strikes on the dead bodies. Now, obviously this all, it depends on how it plays into it, but we're going to be ES based and jack up the ES, and then we're going to also jack up the mana if we can, just so we got more casting. And because we are going to probably take Mind Over Mana, which then helps our damage, because it's all damage, not just some. And then as long as we got a big mana pool, it'll be chipping away at that. Then we're building up ES on hit. Hopefully we'll find some way to build up ES, some ES leech or something like that. So we're constantly full ES no matter what. because we're going to be casting stuff, so mana's going to come down, and yeah. So it's going to be like this: mana, ES, mana, ES, mana, ES. But our life pool should pretty much stay fine, because we're going to take the nodes and we're going to pick up life, and the overflow, we can pick up to double our life. So we could have like 2k life, and then we end up with 4k life while we're picking up. We got ES, we're building up ES, we're building up our mana, we're taking damage from our mana and a little bit from life, but pretty much mana for the damage, life is for our skills, and we're just ES, mana, and we're just going up, 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 up. That's in principle how I want this to play out. It's a similar thing to a Diablo 3 Necro build I built. I don't recall how I did it, but it was a blood magic. Necro used blood skills to do all the damage, and then we leeched enough to get back, and whilst we were attacking, we were virtually unkillable, but if we weren't attacking, we were virtually dead because we weren't leeching. I'm envisioning that. Whether we get that underway or not, I don't know. That is what I am after. Just so you have a gist of where my mind is. A blood magic necro, which we are leeching more than we are losing, and we are leeching at the point, because they've changed how leech works, we could potentially leech so much that any damage that comes in, we mitigate it through all the different means, and we are virtually unkillable by the end of the game. Obviously it's stepping stones: unkillable versus X, then unkillable versus Y, unkillable. So at one point we'll be just, we can't survive. But we need to get to the point where we're leeching way more. That little pivot point will be important, where we leech way more than we lose. And I think this will be a strong sort of idea. Whether I can do it or not, but this particular idea and how I did it in Diablo 3, if I can come up with something similar to that using the stuff I showed, will be a very strong build and a very strong premise for the witch to use blood magic. So I'll just show this as a recap. You can read over anything that I said that you want to double check or anything. Do let me know in the comments, and obviously anything you think I got slightly wrong, let me know in the comments. And the skills for the occultist are there. But here are all those buttons. I'll catch you next time, and can't wait until it comes out. Goodbye.